Welcome back. We're on part 3 of episode 73, and this is a new segment here, Wrestling with the Past, where essentially we throw out all the typical, talk about the recent kind of stuff that we usually do on Smack Talk, and focus on the past. It's a little bit similar to a plug that we're going to do a little bit later, Keeping Kayfabe.
What's up?
But, not as organized, and obviously
Oh, that's organized. That's funny.
not as, they
Clearly, you have never been on our show when we record.
The focus for this week, for the first edition of this, is actually going to continue the WrestleMania coverage that I've been doing for the past couple of weeks here, where, we did a WrestleMania gimmick for the score segment and for the top rope list and so on and so forth. This is going to be about the WWE Hall of Fame. And instead of, a retrospective of who is going into the Hall of Fame this year, which I actually was toying around with, I wanted to focus more on, let's talk about who shouldn't have been inducted into the Hall of Fame and people that we're curious why they haven't, or we are like, oh my God, they guaranteed have to. Before we do the guaranteed have to, because that's obviously going to be the bulk of this, let's talk about who shouldn't have been inducted. I have one little note that I want to throw out here. I personally am a supporter of the celebrity wing. I know that usually gets shit upon more than anything in the Hall of Fame. Everybody's saying, why is Pete Rose in there and Drew Carey and all this? To me, the fact that they give you that separate designation of the celebrity wing points out that it's not on par. And it's, why would we have celebrities throw the first pitch at a baseball game? And
I think the problem people have is it's not so much that there is a celebrity wing, but it's been the choice of celebrities.
To me, I don't see that either, because Drew Carey was in a Royal Rumble, and William the Refrigerator Perry, he participated, and Pete Rose was in WrestleManias, and
I'm going to name about 5 more celebrities who are more deserving than pretty much every single one that's in there when we get to that point.
Right, we will talk about, because I have one of them too. But as far as the wrestlers themselves, and this applies to both women and men, and the managers, and the standard induction section of the group, I only have one person that I think shouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame, and that's Koko Beware. I really don't see what purpose he serves in the Hall of Fame. It would be a different story in my mind if he had won any championship in WWE, or if he had been somebody who had a mass following, and if I remember correctly, Junkyard Dog didn't win any titles in WWE, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he was a pretty damn popular character at the time. And Koko Beware, I mean, the best that he ever was getting was tagging with Owen Hart and losing in random throwaway tag team matches. There was no, he's no friggin' Ted DiBiase or anything like that.
I think he was popular during his singles run, but he was never the most popular guy in the company. I mean, at best, he was maybe 4th best babyface in the company, I would probably say, when he was doing the whole Birdman gimmick, coming out with a bird. That was just to, get kids into it.
I would put him nowadays, if you had a comparison.
Santino.
Yeah, essentially. And Santino even is far more deserving of being in the Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned.
I think Santino is one of the most underrated guys in terms of ring work that they've had in years.
Much more entertaining as far as I'm concerned with Koko Beware and him, and he's won more titles too. So
that's true.
I think Santino has more skill than Koko too.
I do prefer the Cobra to the bird, I'll have to admit.
So now that we got mine out of the way, and we will talk about when everything's done, we'll talk about a certain person and just touch upon that in a second. But before we go into that guy, who were some people that you guys think shouldn't have been inducted into the Hall of Fame? Peyton, because he started talking.
Okay, well, one person I would like to say who should not be in there is superstar Billy Graham, you ungrateful son of a bitch. If you don't want to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, then fine. Take him out. Erase him from the history books. Chris Benoit, superstar Billy Graham, because nobody will miss him.
That's a good point. Do you think that there should be a retraction?
well, I imagine under extremely circumstances they probably would. I mean, if Chris Benoit had been inducted before his incident happened, I'm pretty sure we would have seen him taken out. If superstar Billy Graham committed a similar travesty, I'm sure they would. I mean, right now he's just commenting on Twitter and selling his ring. It's like whatever. It's just child's play to them. They're the reason they're not even going to take him out is just because they don't even want to dignify the guy.
Well, now since the name was brought up, let's touch upon that Chris Benoit thing. To me, the way that I worded it on the website, which of course link below if you want to check out some extra stuff that we're not going to talk about here. The induction of the Hall of Fame to me is a two-part thing. You're not only honoring the wrestler, you're also honoring the person. And if you're talking about Chris Benoit, the wrestler, yeah, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Chris Benoit, the person, certainly does not. And which one is a bigger factor here? It's the person. Because that's what leads into people actually caring about the Hall of Famers, not their career. So Chris Benoit, absolutely no, should not be in the Hall of Fame.
How can you even separate the two? I mean, especially when he's not even like a wrestler who goes in there with a really auspicious gimmick like The Undertaker or something like that. You know, it'll be easy to separate Mark Calloway from The Undertaker. You can't separate Chris Benoit from Chris Benoit.
I'm talking about on pure accolades. You know, former champion,
whatever he did in the
stuff.
ring, and this is going to be a controversial topic. I see why people want to make a case for Chris Benoit. Maybe he was their favorite wrestler. I never trusted the guy. I always saw something evil in his eyes. I never could have explained it. And of course it was realized. And I could say that now easily, of course, but I never liked the guy. So it never affected me.
I was never the biggest Benoit fan. So to me, I'm not a part of that group that's like, oh my God, but you're missing out on a. Nah, I mean Benoit was interesting, but he was never, fantastic to me. I can see
the bottom
why...
line is he could have been the greatest wrestler of all time. The man murdered not just his wife, which not like we don't have other WWE Hall of Famers who have murdered their wives, but he murdered his child.
Right. That's the bottom line of this whole thing. And you do not honor somebody like that.
No.
No matter what he did in the ring.
You do not glorify a person like that in no way, shape, or form. I mean, they're doing the absolute right thing by erasing him from the history books. And maybe as time goes on, time heals all wounds. Maybe you can slowly reintroduce the matches he's had and things like that. Dignify that he even was a person that existed, but never glorify. I think that's what they're starting to get to right now. You're starting to see them mention him, but not glorify him.
Right. Never talk
Really?
about...
I don't think they mention him because there was a segment
just in their encyclopedia. They're starting to put him in on more DVDs. They're definitely starting to show him a little bit more than they were.
Yeah, they're not going out of their way to. If they can get around it, then they do. But
actually, no, they have gone out of their way to erase him because I was watching a WWE On Demand one a couple of weeks ago at my friend's house, an old episode of Nitro, and the Four Horsemen came out, and each one of them did a promo. Ric Flair did his bit. Arn Anderson, I think it was when Kurt Hennig was in it, so Kurt Hennig did his bit. Chris Benoit standing right there. Then they immediately cut his microphone portion out and then went right to Mongo McMichael.
Now, what I'm saying is...
But how do you know how long ago that was edited, though?
They've definitely only had WWE On Demand after the Benoit incident. So.
No, what I'm saying
that
is
doesn't mean that they could have edited that footage at any point, and maybe they're airing it now because that's what they have in their archives. But as far as what they're actually pushing out and promoting as new content, they're putting him in there a lot more often. I mean, some throwaway thing that they just pulled out of a TV tape rack. Yeah, he's probably still not going to be there.
But what I'm saying is they're not going out of their way to mention him.
No.
But if he does pop up, they're kind of just like, and Chris Benoit. And that's like about it. Like they're
when they have one of these like raw rewinds, they're not going to have a Chris Benoit.
Right, and they're not going to talk about every time that they say, oh, there's great U.S. champions over the years like Stone Cold and
Chris Benoit.
All the other they're never going to say Chris Benoit. But if they were to say something like the triple threat match at WrestleMania 20, they probably, if they could, they would go, that involved Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and they would leave it at that. But if they had to say something, they would be like, Chris Benoit, like that kind of a thing. But I think we all kind of agree Benoit's a no, and he's somebody who should never be inducted.
And here's the problem: even if they did, I think there'd be too much of a stigmata, and like if they wouldn't have trouble finding a person that would agree to induct them.
Stigmata.
Yes, literally some sores will develop on their hands. from God himself. No, you will not induct Chris Benoit into the Hall of Fame.
I meant like
Plague of
I
locusts.
give him like stink eye or something, or
Yeah.
like
Stigmata.
So what other people do you guys think shouldn't have been inducted in the Hall of Fame? Do you have any more, Mike?
I got a couple I guess I could talk about. I was looking through the list really quickly, and one name that stuck out to me is Big John Studd. And I can't really ramp on the guy. I think the problem with this is a generational thing. I go back and I watch the early tapes of the golden era of WWE FE. God damn, I don't even know what to call it anymore. But Big John Studd was a guy who just really stuck out to me as blander than bland. And I think in the territory days, he was a really, really big deal and he accomplished a lot then. But I just don't see another guy. I just don't see what he did that made him Hall of Fame worthy, especially to be one of the earliest inductees.
Early inductee, yeah, I can agree with you that. I do think that it makes sense for him to be in the Hall of Fame, but for him to be one of those, like, we have to get him in as soon as possible,
he was also a posthumous induction, wasn't he? He was inducted after he died.
Was he? I don't know. He might have been.
I think so.
Off the top of my head, I have no idea.
I will pull that information up. Yes, he died in 1995, which I believe is around when he went in, so that would make sense.
So,
maybe they just figured they would get it out of the way or something like that. Sounds kind of mean, but I mean, people do that. So.
Well, the people were talking about doing that with Paul Bearer now.
Yeah, I want to definitely bring up Paul Bearer a little bit later about because he's on my list of people that should be in the Hall of Fame. So Big John Studd, we have Coco Beware, we have who else? You mentioned somebody before we started. Who was that? I can't remember now.
He said no Mascaras, but
yeah,
I mean,
no Mascaras. I mean that's just a personal gripe. The guy is just one of the worst attitudes in wrestling history. I mean, people talk about Shawn Michaels having his bad era. That's pretty much been Mil Mascaras his entire freaking career.
Who else we have? Anybody else? Jeff, Brandon, you guys got anybody who you think should?
I don't know. Maybe just because I have a bias towards women's wrestling, Wendy Richter, I mean, the Valiant brothers. Maybe I think Greg the Hammer Valentine's one of those people that's kind of trending on the. What I would like to see in the WWE Hall of Fame.
No, but he's asking what shouldn't be in there.
Oh, what shouldn't be?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Obviously, Rocky Johnson only got in there because he was because of his son.
Well, then the whole tag team champion thing. If they have a little bit of a gimmick to go by, then they will.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can't really disagree with anybody other than Big John Studd. Maybe Howard Finkel. Maybe, I mean, the Fink was iconic, yes, but Hall of Fame.
Really? You don't think he would be a Hall of Famer?
If you can't put an announcer in the Hall of Fame, then
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Then like Bobby the Brain shouldn't be in there. Then Jerry Lawler shouldn't be.
Then they should get their own wing of like the celebrity wing. I think, not to discount it, but just to say, okay, this person was great outside of the ring, and then
I would say Bob Urlacher shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Who?
The guy that guess was the ring announcer at WrestleMania 3, 4.
Oh, Bob Uecker.
Yeah.
I could see Euchre being there.
Celebrity wing.
Celebrity wing. I mean, you got to be a little flexible with it. Euchre, anybody who actually has been a part of something like that, as opposed to like, if they were to put, what the hell's the guy's name? That NASCAR driver that hosted an episode of Raw. Like, if you were to do that, it's a different story. But
once again, I think this isn't a problem with the celebrity wing. It's the choice of celebrities. There's such better celebrity options than Bob Uecker. And I think it's because they have that infamous freeze frame moment of when Andre the Giant has his hands around Euchre's face. That's probably the only reason he got in.
Look, I will defend Bob Uecker if only because I love the Major League movies.
Oh, I do too.
He's great in that, yeah.
But those aren't WWE films.
Well, no, because they're actually kind of entertaining.
Oh,
I like See No Evil.
You're the only person in the world who has ever said that. Kane doesn't even like See No Evil.
Hey, you know what's a scary thought? David Otunga started the most successful box office WWE film.
Yeesh.
I think it's better to just say Halle Berry. The whole reason is because of Halle Berry.
I don't know. I think Otunga's got drawing power.
I thought Colin Farrell's movie would have fared better than that movie.
He's no Wade Barrett.
But now that we're talking about celebrity inductions, and you mentioned the point about other people like that, I'm gonna cut one off here because I know that this should be on your list. My edition of who the celebrity induction should be, they need to get Mr. T in there.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would
It's
love
a criminal that he's not in there by this point.
I would love for it to be next year because I want WrestleMania 30 to be a jam-packed, fucking amazing Hall of Fame. It makes perfect sense to me.
If they have to try to outdo this year's, and this year's was pretty kick-ass.
They could do it though.
They can. They
Like if
absolutely
they have Mr. T as that main celebrity induction, I mean, he obviously to do a pun, he trumps Donald Trump.
They could have Roddy Piper induct him too.
Yeah, if they don't have bad blood between the two of them, then obviously, and if not, maybe somehow you do that kind of a deal where you did it with Ric Flair and you get Hulk Hogan to do it. Maybe you get
Well, there's definitely bad blood between Hogan and WWE.
I don't know. I mean, you never know what would happen with that. But
Money
Hogan's
talks.
all about the money, brother.
Yeah, money talks.
If the price is right, brother, Hulkster
Right.
will be there, brother.
speaking of places right though, does everybody want the
Brother.
Bob Barker is on my list. Let me tell you, Bob Barker was the most successful Raw guest host, without a doubt.
So
Yeah, that whole experiment, he's the only one that I really think was a 100% win all around.
Hmm.
And if you're
I
gonna
thought
put in
Shaq
other
was
people,
good, man.
if you're gonna put in other people for one-time appearances, why not Bob Barker?
I could see it.
If you're gonna put in Drew Carey for his 5 seconds in the Royal Rumble, then put in Bob Barker for his 2-hour guest hosting.
You could even have Drew Carey induct him.
Sure.
And then we get a little parody here with the two Prices Right hosts.
Right.
Oh.
I'm actually surprised they haven't put him in there yet.
Oh.
Yeah, who
Oh.
else do you have on your list of the
I'm
celebrities?
going to say, who the hell is James Dudley? I never heard of that name before in my life.
Well, does any of the other gentlemen have anybody they want to mention for the celebrity wing before I get started here?
Nah, there's nobody off the top of my head that really kind of like stands out to me that's not in there.
All right. Well, the first name I'm going to mention is also from that same era as Mr. T, and that's Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper played such a pivotal role during the Rock and Wrestling Connection. Yeah, her and Captain Lou. I mean, people credit Hulk Hogan with helping the explosion of wrestling in that era, but let's be honest here. Cyndi Lauper and Captain Lou are just as responsible for that crossover appeal with wrestling, getting it to the size that it was. So Cyndi Lauper, absolutely. And she was just recently on TV, too, wasn't she?
Yeah, that was awful with the Heath Slater thing.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
As bad as that was,
we won't mention that.
It makes sense for her to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. So Cyndi Lauper. The other one I want to mention is Muhammad Ali.
Oh yeah, fuck, they don't have
Muhammad
him
Ali. Not only for making that appearance at WrestleMania where he was the special guest timekeeper, but at least we forget about his match with Antonio Inoki.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I completely fucking forgot about him. Wow.
Yeah, so Muhammad Ali, another guy who is absolutely deserving to go in there. Another crossover sports star that I think should be in there is Dennis Rodman.
For WCW?
For his time in WCW, teaming up with Hulk Hogan, going up against that other basketball guy in DDP.
Should we have Jay Leno?
Karl Malone, yeah. You can put Karl Malone. You can put them in together. Why not? You can have
Then
DDP.
damn it, Lawrence Taylor should be in there too.
Well, yeah, why not? Sure, Lawrence Taylor could be in there.
Jay Leno.
This is the main event of a WrestleMania and won. Why shouldn't Lawrence Taylor be in there?
True story.
Isn't he?
I think
No,
he
he's
is.
not.
I think he is.
No, Lawrence Taylor is not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh no, Fridge Perry is. That's his
Yeah,
name.
I'm mixing the two up. I knew there was somebody who was a former football player.
Now, I have two more, and these ones might be a little more controversial than the ones I had just said. First one.
You're not going to say Jenny McCarthy and Pamela Anderson, are you?
Why don't you stop trying to suck the air out of me here, huh? All right, first one is Andy Kaufman.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, are you serious?
Are you serious, bro?
Andy Kaufman was a comedian. He started a number of shows, specifically Taxi. I'm sure there's a number of other things.
Oh yeah.
He was famous during the
Vodka.
Memphis territory days of wrestling women.
Well,
He would call women out of the crowd, and he would wrestle and call himself the women's wrestling champion. Then eventually it ended up with him
The
Oh, yeah,
feuding.
the one with Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, and eventually he would feud with Jerry Lawler, ending with having multiple things with them on. What was it Larry King? Not Larry King.
Letterman.
Fucking Letterman. Larry
Letterman.
King.
The,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that was, in my opinion, that's the greatest work ever perpetrated in the history of wrestling.
yeah, that was really fantastic.
I think a lot of people didn't know that it was a work until that they saw Man on the Moon, where it was
Right.
Boom.
kind of like revealed.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think that was the moment that at least it was for me, and I imagine a lot of people where it was finally like, oh, okay, so that wasn't real heat between those guys because it really felt true.
yeah,
It
Memphis,
did.
baby. Those are back. That was back in the day when heat was heat.
definitely
Lord,
not
Lord said
controversial.
Andy even said slap me.
Mm. Well, Andy Kaufman definitely I think is a deserving name, and of course you could have Jerry Lawler induct him. There's no other person that would make any more sense.
No, Paul Giamatti pops up.
I imagine the only reason they're waiting for that is maybe to be in a WrestleMania in an area where those territories are rich, like somewhere in the East Coast, the Middle East Coast.
Yeah, I don't think
Andy lived in New York. Why didn't they do it this year? That would have been perfect.
They had to do Donald Trump, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think we're gonna have WrestleMania at Memphis anytime soon, so they'll figure something out though.
I'm surprised they haven't had WrestleMania at Washington D.C. myself.
Well, Washington D.C. They would run into the same problem that they're probably gonna run into with this year's WrestleMania, the weather.
I'm
certainly
surprised they
FedEx-
haven't had a WrestleMania out of the country. You know,
Yeah, Japan would have been.
Japan or England.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
both-
no, England especially, because you definitely don't want to hold it when it's raining.
Well, why haven't they returned to Wembley Stadium?
Well, they just actually reconstructed Wembley Stadium, so it's only been up for like the last 6 years. So
If they ever do it outside of that country, obviously, like if they go to England, they're gonna have a lot of
Wembley.
English.
Anyway, I have one more celebrity induction here,
Throw it out there.
and this is the one that's really going to be a little controversial. David Arquette.
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah.
You know what?
The man is a former world heavyweight champion, and he was the star in a wrestling movie, which helped a lot of
Russo
crossover.
made him champion.
He was a
Nobody-
champion, and
Russo
he
said-
was there on a number of weeks of television. He made a big impact as a celebrity in wrestling. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
He
don't
almost
think
has
so.
more of a reason to be in there than Coco Beware.
Arquette wasn't even passable as a good champion in that.
But he was a celebrity. You can't once again. You can't hold him to the same standards. The fact that they even got a celebrity to that point where they could put him in a championship spot. They never made Lawrence Taylor a champion.
Right.
I heard that. Well,
Sorry, Brandon.
that killed
Okay.
WCW. Arquette as champion killed WCW.
Listen,
Well, it certainly
you
helped.
could take a
Well,
smart
part
outlook
of-
to
part
this,
of that
or you
killed
could take a
WCW.
realistic business look to it. And the fact of the matter is, David Arquette played a huge part in the wrestling business, and he is a deserving person of being in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Even since then, he's been involved. You know, whenever they do these like Be a Star rallies or whatever they're doing, you'll see David Arquette pop up occasionally.
Yeah.
I believe he was also a Raw guest host at one point. He wrestled, didn't he?
I could support it.
He came out and wrestled like Big Show or someone.
Yeah, he did. I can't remember who it was. It was a heel though, wasn't it?
I don't remember, but he came out in some ridiculous red, white, and blue, like Evil Knievel type outfit. I remember.
Or it might have been like John Cena or somebody. I don't know, but yeah, I can support David Arquette being in the Hall of Fame.
Then they should put Floyd Mayweather in the Hall of Fame since he knocked out the Big Show.
Absolutely, Floyd Mayweather should be in there. Not yet.
But it would probably
in the
cost him
future.
about $12 million just to get him to show up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Let's wait 10 years when maybe he's a little more humbled.
Does anybody else
I
have
don't
any
think
other?
that man will ever be humble in his life.
Does anybody
Have
else
you ever
have any
watched
other
24/7?
celebrities that they want to get into the Hall of Fame?
No, I'm good. I
No.
spoke my piece.
Yeah, celebrity. I think Mike pretty much covered every celebrity that there possibly was. I totally agree with Andy Kaufman. Kaufman absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame.
Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to break this up instead of having part 3, since I didn't account for how long we were going to end up doing this. I figured it'd be long, but I'm going to break it up just to make it a little easier for myself, and we're going to continue on part 4 with the rest of the our list here and talk about actual wrestlers and so on and so forth.